Today's episode is brought to you by Archon Mounts. For those of you that are content creators and you want the best mounting solutions for your cell phones, your DSLR cameras, well, go to archon.com. Be sure to use my promo code Hawaii and you'll get 20% off your entire order. Also, all of their products come with a lifetime guarantee. So head on over to archon.com, keeping your devices within reach. Want to announce our new merch is up. If you go to therealgilo.com, click on merchandise, it'll take you to our storefront, which has our last run of our t-shirts for the fall season. It's Stay Humble and Shaka, Blessed Beyond Measure, Ezekiel 37 shirts, Yesu, which is native Hawaiian for Jesus. And we also have our beanies, coffee cups. Get your hands on it while it lasts, because we're going to be running our winter apparel. TheRealGilo.com. Click on merchandise, and as I always say, mahalo for your support.
To whoever may need this nugget of encouragement, things will be alright, so quit your worry. I get it, the odds can stack back against the wall, but if you consider it such, no, you'll stand firm.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time it is. My name is Brother Greg, aka The Real Gilo. We are live on X, YouTube, Twitch, Kick, and Rumble. If the audio is good and the topic is good enough, we can put it up on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much for joining. And I want to say thank you for those of you that were with us the other day. I think it was Tuesday. We were at Sora Sushi. We did our podcast with Brother Sid. Got his last name wrong and everything, but it's all good. If you didn't catch that, it is up on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. For those of you that are just straight audio files, you definitely want to go to that. It's easier than watching it live on a video platform. However, if you are on Spotify, they actually do have the video podcast available as well. So, and also YouTube podcasts. They used to be called Google Podcasts, I think, but now it's a separate part that is an actual RSS feed or podcast on YouTube for people that didn't know. We've got a lot to talk about. Today's title is It's All About His Presence. And one of the things I was reading this morning was the book of Job. And it's funny how you read something, over and over again, and then there's just a different time of your life. There's a different chapter or season that you're walking through, and you read something, and you're like, I forgot about that, or like, I didn't know that happened, or it's like either you forgot, or maybe you really just skipped over it. That used to happen to me a lot when I was a kid in school. I think now that I'm just sitting here, and I'll wait till my wife comes, we'll go deeper into it. But if you guys remember those Choose Your Own Adventure books, I wish I had a book. I do have a book here. So remember, you used to have those Choose Your Own Adventure books where you would read a book, and then it would say to go to the store, go to page 170. If you want to jump off the bridge, go to page 110. And it was one of those things when you read those books. It's like, you choose your own adventure. I don't know how they did that. Because it's like, it takes skill to write a story like that. The one thing I can think of that maybe may have mimicked that in my generation is this movie called Pulp Fiction. It's not a great movie. It's not a family movie for sure. But it makes me think about some of those feelings you've had when you're walking, right? And you're like, I forgot about that moment. And it's like when I read my Bible this morning, it's kind of like when I read Job, his three buddies, I'm thinking, I forgot about those guys. It's like, it's kind of like those choose your own adventure books. I think sometimes in life we'll read something, whether we get sidetracked, distracted, or whatever it may be, it's like, oh, okay, I remember that now, so, but one of the things I got about reading that, it was, one of the things God told Satan approached him, and God said, have you considered my servant Job? And it made me think about, as a parent, we in terms of parenting styles, me and my wife are different, right? I mean, hopefully so. You can't have two of the same parents, but in a nutshell, in a very general, broad sense, I'm more of, I guess you could say, kind of, it's not that I let the kids do whatever they want to do, but the way I was raised, I had a lot of freedom in some respects. Like my dad would let me fall, right? He would let me get hurt, and sometimes some of the things my dad would say, good for you, or but you learn means later on you'll figure it out, kind of a deal. And there are times when I made some pretty bad mistakes, and I would get corrected, right? But it always brought me back to this memory where my dad would always embrace me at whatever the reason and whatever the circumstance. There was always that embracing. And now that I'm older, I'm a parent. I kind of see where my dad believed in me. Oh, at least I think he did. I don't know. I haven't really asked him, but I feel like he believed in me. So, anyways, we'll get into that. It's all about his presence, and I'm gonna check my wife clearing up whatever she needs to clear up. I actually got to clear up mine too, so we may just take a short break, clear up. I started talking and forgot my water bottle, so I'm gonna get my water bottle. But anyways, for those of you that are joining us, thank you so much. And if you haven't shared this out, we would definitely appreciate that. For those of you on X, um, there's a new program in town when it comes to metrics, analytics, whatever you want to call it, where they reward people that post content. So it's a little bit different now. It's not based on advertiser revenue, and we're not doing it for the money, obviously, but the money comes with content, which is what I believe. So, but anyways, if you share it out on X, thank you, especially amongst creators who are verified. So we'll talk about that too. I find that interesting. Are you ready, honey? Okay, I'll put your mic on and have you greet the people. Your camera is on in 3, 2.
Sorry.
I gotta clear mine too. I probably will need that. 3, 2, 1. You ready? Okay.
Aloha.
You're live. You're live.
Still alive.
The crudes.
I love the crudes.
It's like that guy in the Lefties Losing It video where he made his own. I don't know about Donald Trump. He's the president now. I don't know what's going to happen to my mother-in-law.
Oh.
She's an illegal immigrant. She entered the country illegally.
She lives here.
Address 120, apartment B.
It's the red door. It's the red door.
And she doesn't have a security system or a dog. I don't know what's going to happen to her.
At first, you don't even think about it, right? So you're like,
Because
what in the world? And then you realize that he's telling them where his mother-in-law is so that they could deport her.
At first I thought it was real, but I thought this guy's a fake. But I already knew he was a fake cry. I just didn't know it was a fake video. Yeah. I wonder how much money he made from that.
I don't know, but it's funny, and then I guess it's not funny. And I was watching something with Zoe yesterday. I said, "Wow, what is it against in-laws, huh?"
I don't know. That's just straight up devil. I mean, you think about it, that's like a split in the family, you know? My voice got different, or is it just me? I guess I have my headphones on. Real quick, thank you to my YouTube viewers. I appreciate you guys. I know we don't get a lot of comments from YouTube, but thank you. I do appreciate you guys joining us live. And if you are brand new to this channel or this show or this, I guess we call it a podcast, but it's not technically a podcast since I put it up on Spotify. So, but thank you. We do appreciate you guys. If you're brand new, we would definitely appreciate one of those fancy follows or reposting. We would definitely appreciate subscribe if you're on YouTube, Twitch, Kick, or Rumble. And thank you. We do appreciate you guys very much. My voice sounds like it's, I feel like I'm a radio guy this morning. It's like deep and crackly. No?
Your voice is always deep in the morning.
I guess so.
Not as deep today.
Yeah, it's weird. I think I have this little phlegm that adds a little bit of character. I feel like I'm Joel Pagliani. That's his name, Joel Pagliani. I'm gonna look him up. So just to reinforce the other day, you asked me, "What are you doing?" If I'm ever looking at my computer, and it's because I'm trying to find something to add to the conversation that may be fact. So I'm on camera, but I'm also Jamie, right? Or Zach, their assistants.
I don't know, but you've been very quiet. That's why I was asking.
Well, because I'm concentrating on trying to find something. But anyways, the title is "It's All About His Presence." We're listening to Nothing Else by Cody Carnes. We had it on repeat. I would encourage anybody that's a believer, spend some time with the Lord. I mean, obviously we should, but I just want to reinforce that. Spend time with the Lord every morning. Get into your word, pray. My wife, we didn't really grab and hold hands this morning and look at each other, but we had our own personal time in our own personal space. Worship, prayer, getting to the word, do devotional. Very important. I'm a firm believer in that. Yeah. I was looking up a reference. Give me a second.
Reference or that Pagliani guy. I was watching. I guess Mike Tyson has been trending. Mike Tyson and what is that guy's name? Jake something.
What they're fighting tonight?
Oh, is that what's happening?
Yeah.
I was thinking, what in the world? Because people are funny. They make these funny videos, and they're making this funny video
Which one?
of Mike Tyson and Jake. I don't know what
Jake
his
Paul.
last name.
Jake Paul is his name.
Jake Paul.
There's his two brothers, Jake Paul and something Paul. I forget.
So it's like, what in the world is that? I don't know.
Do you know what it is? Okay, so Jake Paul is a young guy. He's a YouTube. They say YouTube star, but he actually started on Twitter. A lot of people don't know that. Twitter/Vine. So Vine was a 6-second. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I know what Vine is.
So they started on 6-second videos. They started this whole. I think Vine was the ones that started this short form, short attention span videos, but they were able to create a whole story
in 6 seconds.
In 6 seconds, which is amazing. And so Jake Paul was a part of the crew. It was Jake Paul, his brother, this girl named Brittany Ferlin, Bach, this black guy who was a comedian. I think Sebastian Bach. There's another guy named Rudy Mancuso, who's another comedian. But I think they were all in the same house creating these videos. And I think I don't know if they were getting paid. Anyways, they demanded more money from Twitter or Vine, because Twitter bought Vine for like 15 million or 20 million.
Interesting.
Twitter dropped the ball on that. They didn't pay them. They shut down the app. They shut down the app after they bought Periscope. So they bought Vine and they bought Periscope. Then they shut down Vine. So for whatever reason, this is a long story, but so Jake Paul was a part of the original crew, and amazing. They were young. So anyways, all those guys left, and now they're multimillionaires. It's a little thing.
I know, I can hear it.
I know. It's not a podcast. We'll do whatever we like. Do for you guys. So, anyways, Jake Paul and his brother, they're all multi-millionaires. Like, can you imagine if Twitter did not drop the ball on that? They would have had all those content creators creating amazing viral content. Yeah. Just tell me if I need to mute, if you need to. But, so anyways, Jake Paul was a part of that. So him and Mike Tyson are boxing tonight. Jake Paul is he's an amazing athlete.
Now, did they box before? Or was this the same guy that he was gonna box before? Or did he box already?
This is their first time.
Okay.
No, Jake Paul is probably, I don't know how many fights he's got.
Did they do like something for a fundraiser or something like that?
Jake Paul is never a
No,
fundraiser.
I'm talking about Mike Tyson.
Kind of. Mike Tyson's,
Didn't he fight somebody else?
yeah, he fought Roy Jones Jr., but that wasn't a fundraiser. That was to make money.
Oh,
Mike
okay.
Tyson's never done a fundraiser. He may have donated some to charity, but they never, because put it this way, like if a boxer, I'm just throwing some fake numbers. If a boxer that's good jumps in the ring today
Mm.
and they promote it, they're gonna make 200 million easy. So it's not about they're not gonna donate that to charity. It's not 200 million, maybe 10 million or whatever. Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, this whole fight tonight is all about promoting. I remember I showed you the video. Oh, you didn't see it. I wish I could pull it up. But so yesterday, last night was the weigh-ins. So every time before a boxing
Mm.
match, you do the weigh-ins before.
Right.
So I don't know what I don't think there's a weight limit because they're both pretty. I think they're close. And Mike Tyson came in at 220. I'm not sure what Jake Paul. Jake Paul, I think is
There's a
heavier.
weight class.
Well, this is an exhibition, so there is no,
Mm.
like I said, there's no. They already agreed, no matter what. So
Okay.
I'm sure behind closed doors they have some kind of agreement. Hey, don't you can't be juicing, you know,
Yeah.
like 2 or 3 weeks before. I don't know. Maybe they did. I don't know. Maybe they did it. But it's an exhibition, so it's not. But now this exhibition is. It looks like it's going to be like.
Intense.
I think so. Well, yeah, I think it's up to Jake Paul. I think if he goes hard at Mike Tyson, I think Mike Tyson will unlock. I think he'll unlock the beast.
That'll be interesting.
Well, it's what I told you last night. It's Jake Paul is he's able to knock people out hard, but he's not a killer.
Mike Tyson is the
Yeah, Mike
opposite.
Tyson's a killer. It's one thing to be good, but it's like we talked about Donald Trump the other day, and all the presidents we've had, all the leaders we've had. I think Donald Trump is the only person I think that he has the will to do what he said he would do.
Yeah. I think he doesn't care. Money's not his God, if I can say it that way. Money is a tool for him that he understands how to use. Because he's a business guy, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that all business people know how to use it well, but he does, right?
I think he's prideful, but I don't think he's. Sometimes I think some of that is intentional.
So the first time that he ran, I voted for him because I thought that he would bring change after Obama's, yeah. And when I voted for him, it was because I felt like he could make changes in the government that other people couldn't. Number one, he wasn't a part of that bureaucracy. Bureaucracy. I don't even know how to say.
Bureaucracy. See, now you messed me up. Bureaucracy. Bureaucracy.
Is it bureaucracy?
Bureaucracy.
Basically, he wasn't a part of the um, establishment, so to speak, of what I felt like was the establishment because, they're in the seats, and I can't remember which one. You got 4 years, you got 6 years. I'm not sure if you got 2 years, I think, but there's a seat that you can have unlimited terms.
U.S. senators, right?
And I feel like over the years that they've taken advantage of those things. And I was just reading about Pelosi, but then, and I said this before, Dan Inouye, who's from Hawaii. They sat in those seats for a really long time. Mazie Hirono is sitting in that seat, and she's another one. And then you look at Nancy Pelosi, who's been there forever. Look at Joe Biden; he's been in politics for what, over 50 something years. And I always felt so annoyed with that because you got a younger generation coming up, and I don't want to say fresh meat, but fresh thoughts, fresh ideas,
Did you say
something
fresh
different.
meat?
Yeah, I said I don't want to say fresh meat. That's what I said. um but allow these people who are coming up to have a chance to sit in that seat, to get that sort of experience and mentor them possibly. But I was so annoyed. I got so annoyed with those two guys, Dan Inoue and Dana Kaka. It's like, why are you still sitting in the seat? Like, give it up. Let somebody else, sit in that seat. Why are you trying to hold on to the seat? You look at Nancy Pelosi. They said she's 84, right? Do you need to be 84 sitting in that seat? The same way where we had oh, what is her name? She sat in that seat over Kailua for such a long time. Thielen,
Cynthia Thielen.
Cynthia Thielen, right? And then she's still running versus getting, allowing a younger generation to sit in that seat. And she's 80 something years old. And I'm thinking, don't you think it's time for you to like allow somebody else to sit in that seat versus, you got younger generations who are excited to be a part of working for the people, because really they are, that's their role, is to work for the people. I'm not saying that Cynthia Thielen, she did a good job, because she did listen to her people, and the reason why she got voted in again is because when there was a problem or when something arose, that she did speak up for the people, and whatever they wanted was the thing that she fought for, and I feel like over the years, more so now, that we've come away from that, and I watch some of these court hearings and watch some of this stuff. It's like they think that they are above the law. Like, no, you listen to me. No, we are citizens and you work for us. It's not the opposite way around. But they sit in their seats and they think they have this role to play, like to rule over you. And roles have changed over the years of, so when like I said, when I voted for Donald Trump, it wasn't because it was because I felt like he could make some changes. I like some of the policies that he came out with, but the biggest thing was that he couldn't be bought. He made enough money where he didn't need to take money, or he didn't need to conform to lobbyists, so that some things would happen. And I believe even now, I mean, he did what he said that he was gonna do to the capacity that he could, because he had to fight against you know those who didn't want him. Republicans didn't have control over certain things. So, to the best of his ability of what he could, what do you call that? Do it. He pretty much fulfilled on what he said he was going to do. And then I looked at Obama and I was like, well, this guy made promises, just like the governor who sits in Hawaii right now. I'm so annoyed. Like, I get so irritated with him because, the first time around, he sounded like he had a good plan, and you listen to them talk. And I voted for him the first time thinking that, you know, he sold a good story, but he didn't fulfill anything, and he became more of a control freak of, I'm the government, and you have to listen to me, and just the arrogance that came out of him.
You're talking about the policy.
Yeah, no, well, policies. And when COVID happened, he um, was so rude to the people, really. rude to the people. Like, I don't care what you got to say, I'm gonna do it this way, and you're gonna comply. And that's the way. If you watch his videos
We
and
talking
some of
about
Josh Green,
Josh Green.
and
Oh
the
yeah.
and the things that he said, like, and it annoyed me too when he was in the DNC and said, Hawaii is the first state to da 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 abortion. Da, da. Like, who said that we was against people? You know, I get annoyed with that too, because as Hawaiian people, if you understand our culture, you know who we are. You know, um, we're almost a died out nation because of um, because babies never survive after one, and so our first baby luau's that we always have is that was the first thing that was we were in celebration of. If a baby lived past 1 years old, a baby lived to be one, there's a huge celebration for that, because it was life, and people and babies began to thrive. And there's a whole story behind that, but I mean, to say that all of Hawaii is for abortion is a lie in itself, and that makes me angry. When you know our culture, it makes me angry that you say that about our people when that's not even true. We were almost a died out nation, and for a baby to live past one was a rarity for our people. So the celebration of life, we celebrate life. We do. Um,
Well, let's kind of hone it to we were talking about Senate. We talked about Obama, COVID, Josh Green, babies, Hawaii.
mhm,
Let's kind of narrow it to, because I think going back to Josh Green, a lot of it was based on fear.
mhm.
Yeah. So a lot of the things the currency they used was fear, right? And it's not just Hawaii; it's every government official that was in authority and power. And here's a funny part of that: when Joanne called me, "Hey, we're gonna go to the Capitol. You want to come?" And so yeah, I'll do it. Well, not the Capitol, at his house. So with the megaphone and all that. But I remember when we were marching around his house, his property, his house, but his apartment, his
Building
condominium
complex.
complex. Yeah, we don't want to give the address, but um, so anyways, I just remember there was a lot of protests. There are some people angry, right? But we were on this premise of if we don't do this, then the powers that be that are evil or not good are going to win, right? But then going back to that, there's fear. And I want to ground this a little bit before we move forward. But Isaiah 41:10 says, "Don't be afraid, for I am with you. I am your God, and let nothing terrify you. I will make you strong and help you. I will protect you and save you." That's out of the book of Isaiah. Uh, I love these new fonts on my Bible app because I can make it fat. I don't know if you can see this. You see how fat I can make it?
Hmm.
I can make them fat so I can see
Which
really.
app is that?
The Bible app. I didn't realize you can change the fonts.
Oh.
But it's a very powerful scripture. I think,
Mhm.
"Do not be afraid, for I am with you. I am your God. Let nothing terrify you. For I will make you strong and help you. I will protect you and save you." We talked about. Um, I want to go backwards a little bit too. You brought up Mike Tyson. I think Mike Tyson is one of the, in my generation, one of the most intriguing people to watch. One of the things that really got me was when his daughter died. Remember we watched those videos,
Mm.
and he had to walk out of several interviews because he just couldn't finish his sentence. And then when they turned off the cameras, Mike Tyson apologized to the interviewers. "I'm sorry, man. They made a breakdown. I'm just a big baby." Something like this. "I'm just a big baby. I should be better." And the guy goes, "It's okay, Mike. It's okay." But going back to this whole Mike Tyson and how he's fighting tonight. Um, the tough guy that he is, I think tonight, I think it's gonna come out. Whatever Jake Paul brings to the table, I think it's like I feel like I want to be there. I want to, like you said, just ask Dad for his Netflix, right? I just want to be. I want to be there. I want to watch. I want to see what's going to happen. And I'm trying to connect the dots to even today. We talked about it's all about his presence. It's there's something that woke me up early this morning. Um, Usually it's dreams that wake me up early. Yeah. So this morning I had a dream that woke me up. It's just a weird. It was about bathtubs. One of the things about
Welcome to my world.
Well, one of the things about being a father, or right, as a husband, for me, I'm learning is that if there's something coming up, whether it's a bill or something important coming up, I don't sleep as good. Yeah, and things wake me up. Now, I could very easily pick up my phone and start playing a game, but it led me to pray. Let me just, Lord, I give you my morning. I went out there and, ground up the coffee beans. And so for anybody that's watching, our coffee is an adventure. It takes us at least half an hour to make coffee, at least, because we've got to grind the beans. We grind it fresh. Uh, we only do burr grinding. So burr grinder is like a cylindrical device, and it's kind of like a cone, upside down cone, and it grinds your beans into this little, and it's better than the blade. Put it that way. It doesn't heat up your beans the way the centrifugal. How do you say it? Centrifugal.
Centrifugal?
Hey Google, how do you properly say centrifugal?
That's pronounced centrifugal.
Centrifugal. Okay, works for me.
Anyway, getting back
Yeah.
to it, what I was talking about, Obama and Trump and um, Josh Green, right? The premise of all of that is this: that no matter who you vote for, no matter who sounds great,
It's good.
whether they fulfill their promises or not, the biggest thing, the greatest thing
It's gonna be great.
to do is to pray for those in charge of you,
Yep.
right? Because, like I said, no matter who you voted for, did I vote for Obama the first time? I think I voted for Obama the first time.
That's what you said earlier. Yeah.
And I thought Obama was, going to bring changes that would have been great, Um, that didn't happen. I voted for Josh Green the first time. That didn't happen. I voted for Trump the first time, and with Trump, it did happen, and like I say, even through the disappointments, like, because there are so many people that are disappointed in Donald Trump winning, whatever it is, I feel like when it comes to politics, people are afraid, no matter whose side it is, whether it's Republican, whether it's Independents, whether it's um, Democrats, no matter what side it's on, people become afraid because, there's a lot of fear mongering and all that stuff because, they want their political party or the person that they believe would be the best person to run the country or that they can control, whatever it is, right? They want them to sit in office. But as a believer, right, we're we're called to vote in a way that is the most righteous, right? And it's not saying that we are this, I don't know, they have all this, uh, what are they calling them? Nationalist Christianity. It's not even about that. Just because you don't believe the same way that we believe doesn't mean that we are, uh, what do you call that? Nationalist Christians or whatever the heck that is supposed to mean. The thing is, we're supposed to vote for righteousness, and whatever looks the most righteous according to the word of God, that's the way that we should be voting, right? If you're a believer and you believe in abortion, well, you better go check your word again, because one of the 10 commandments is thou shalt not kill. regardless of you think whether or not that's a baby or not. Anything with a heartbeat is a baby.
Well, let's land there for just a minute. So I'm not a obviously I can't I'm not a childbearing man. I don't think those are possible. However, Apple seems to think that you can have a childbearing man according to the emojis. But one of the things when it comes to that is that it's a clump of cells, right? And it belongs to the woman's body. If that were true, without bringing Christianity into the mix, to say that you can just cut off that clump of cells because it's like not a virus. What's the other word they use? It's like it's not a sentient being. Is what they'll say. The other things they'll say is that it's a part of your body and it's yours, right? So if that doesn't have value, intrinsic value, so that I guess it's like your lung. Just take out your lungs, the same thing, right? But it's not, and it's not your DNA, not 100%.
Well,
So
and it's not 100% your body either, because what it is it's an egg from a woman,
yeah,
and it takes sperm from a man to fertilize that egg.
yeah,
So it's
yeah.
not 100% yours. It actually forms its own DNA and its own entity that you as a woman host that entity, that body, that cells, if you want to call it that. It takes on its own life.
Well, nobody can debate that it's life.
Hmm.
Now, the philosophical questions come in where, but is it living, right? And that has a whole nother, it has a whole nother sense of interpretation. Like it's not living because it's still in the mother, but it's life. So now the definition, well, what is living? So they will say, well, it's not sentient. It can't survive on its own. It needs someone to take care of it, and that's a slippery slope of an argument to approach because now you're talking about not just babies, you're talking about adults too. What happens if they're not able to take care of themselves?
Well, you got plants, you got grass, you got all
Well,
these things that cannot grow on its own. It needs
yeah.
help.
Well, when we talk about humans, for example, when the baby comes out for the first year, even year and a half, it can't take care of itself. It can't say, "Hey, you know what?
A sandwich.
I'm gonna make me a sandwich. I'm gonna cook some fried rice." Like, no,
Make my own milk.
and they don't even say, "You know what? I'm gonna go to the bathroom and I'm gonna take care of them." No, if you don't take care of them, they will die, even after the womb,
Mhm.
right? So, yeah. So going back to the whole righteousness issue of the abortion, like I'm gonna connect the dot on this part is even in that it's about His presence.
Yeah.
We talked about last week. I know we talked about Jesus being in the room. Oh, we talked about vaccines, right? But it is all about His presence because if God is not in the room when
Mhm.
you make those types of decisions, where is He? Right? His presence in our life is so important in every aspect. It's in voting. It's in making those decisions about childbearing, birth, abortions, whatever. He has to be in the room, and it is heartbreaking. Tala shared a video with me yesterday. I wish I could pull it up. My computer's talking to me. But the video was this guy who had Down syndrome, and he shared about basically, I'm glad my mom didn't kill me. It's basically what he was saying. Very powerful video.
Where they are the most loving people. So my grandma used to take care of a girl who had Down syndrome. Her name was Leilani, and she was the funniest person. She was very funny, but she was so loving, and she would walk around hugging everybody. You know, And sometimes she would hug you when you needed a hug, even though you didn't say that you needed one. You know, they are loving, very loving people. And I mean, she was funny. She would crack us up all the time. And we were kids, and she was older. I don't know how old she was, but she would walk around the house and she'd like hug my uncles, hug my dad, them, you know. And it's funny for people who didn't like being hugged or
Didn't care.
yeah,
I'll
they would
hug
let
you.
her hug them, and you know, and made them feel good, because even though you know they're kind of had a hard shell on the outside, you could see that smile on their face. It was just to me, and that just speaks to all life matters, right? Regardless of how you come into this world. If a parent, if you are a person who really wants to have kids, right, and you have a baby, and no matter what happens, say you know, say you got a Down syndrome baby. One of my friends has his name is Kahiao, is his son's name, and he always says homie with an extra chromie. But he's so cute. He's so cute. You want, when you want your baby, it don't matter, like it doesn't even matter about those things. It's just, you know, you cannot allow society to tell you.
You know, it's funny. We're talking about people with Down syndrome, and we started from abortion to this. I in that video, uh, I'm looking it up as you're talking, but one of the things I found is that people with Down syndrome statistically have a lot, like considerably a lot less cancer diagnoses. And I find that interesting. And
Yeah,
I've thought about, you know what? I've never met or known anybody with Down syndrome that died of cancer. Have you?
no.
Interesting, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading up on it now. Um, but it's interesting. I've never there's some science behind it, and I won't bore the listener or viewers, but it does say that most cancers are rare with people with Down syndrome. And obviously it has a lot to do with the extra copy of, you know, chromosome 21,
Mm-hmm.
that it has a gene that blocks angiogenesis, which is the development of blood vessels, that I guess is the pathway for the growth of cancers. So it's interesting. And there's a lot of other things. How many Down syndrome people do you know that have Alzheimer's
None.
or dementia? I'm sure there's a percentage, but and then going back to the beginning, they're always happy.
Yeah. So my cousin Garrett, when he played when he played football, that so reminds me of that. Okay, so when he played football and he played for UH, there was a guy who had Down syndrome, and he would run across the field, and he would do like these backflips and these cool moves. He was so excited, but he was always happy. That just reminded me of that. He'd run on the field and he'd do like these things on the field. It was just cool. Anyway,
Well, I'm looking up some more because it's interesting. They have, I don't know how to say these words, but they have fewer cancers. And one of the studies is what is it that's in them that they can use to do cancer research. So they have a surplus of a cancer suppressing protein. That's interesting.
that's so cool.
Their chromosome 21 carries 231 genes. Interesting.
Wow, 231 genes. It's a lot of genes.
A tumor needs veins and arteries to nourish its rapid growth, so tumors fashion a haphazard cluster of new vessels that mimic a legitimate body process called angiogenesis. This is something I'm going to study now. This is interesting. It's funny, going back to abortion, it's funny because I don't think it's public. Well, yeah, it kind of was. It was on Facebook Live, but well, maybe not. But one of our friends, I don't know if you remember, one of our friends in Hawaii before she gave birth. I don't know if you remember this because that's such a long time ago. But they were afraid that the baby had Down syndrome, and we were praying, because all the what do you call those ultrasounds, X-ray, whatever, and blood work showed that there was a high risk of that. And so people are talking about, well, if the baby's quality of life is going to be poor, why would you bring the baby into the world? Yeah.
Well, I remember they do a process called amniocentesis. And what that is they stick this long needle
They poke the baby
in
with.
through your belly button so that they could get some of the amniotic fluid so that they could test it. And if you know me, you know is I hate needles. Um, the only reason why I'm okay with getting a shot is because I don't know how many times I would be traumatized by having to get a shot or you know, do testing. So growing up, when they did testing, they would take the needle and they would put a bubble underneath your skin, right? Well, when you got 50 shots on one arm and 50 shots on the other arm, and it always is happening, it would just freak me out all the time. And um, I remember one time just clinging onto the table because I didn't want to get
No,
any
we're
shots.
talking about when you're a kid.
Yeah,
Okay.
so all those things hurt. So thinking about having this big giant needle being put through your belly button just so they could take some fluid to test it to see if the baby would have some kind of birth defect or Down syndrome. And I remember Diane getting it done and I was thinking, I said, "Are you nuts?" And she's like, "No, well, you have to get it done." Da, da, da." So when Dr. Fujita had asked me about, doing it, this is stuff I want to do, and with Zoe, and I said no, and he just looked at me and he was like, "But why? This is testing, da da da, to see if your baby has Down syndrome, see if something's wrong, maybe you don't want it." I said no. I said because regardless of what it is, I'm still gonna keep the baby.
Yeah.
So I don't care, and I don't want you poking me. And there are cases where they have done amniocentesis on women, and they lost a baby because you're poking a hole in a sack,
Well,
and then it
there's
leaks.
always a disclaimer,
So
right?
to me, it wasn't important for me. It's for other people maybe, but I'm talking about for myself that it wasn't important to me because if my baby came out with Down syndrome, I would still keep my baby,
Yeah.
right? And I'm a believer. I don't just believe in God. I trust Him that He wasn't gonna give me something that I couldn't handle, and I don't believe that's God's design. You know, um, we're just this world is full of sin, and I don't believe that's God's design. And you know, I don't believe praying for a baby and believing God for a baby that God would give me a baby that would make life so much more harder for me. I don't believe that um, at all because I've been praying for a healthy baby, right? So if I'm praying for a healthy baby, oh, I don't care about your amniocentesis they induced me because they believed that she was a lot bigger than what she would have been. But so they believed that she would be like a 9, 10 pound baby. And because my frame isn't that big, that they were afraid that, I would, what do you call that? I don't know, that something would go wrong in their concern for me giving birth. When I gave birth to Zoe, she was 5 pounds, no, 6 pounds, 12 ounces, and she was 22 inches long. She was tiny but long, and so which made me it made me annoyed. Like, why did you induce my labor? Like, your body is designed to know when it needs to go into labor, right? And by pushing your body to give birth earlier than what it should is not a good indication of anything, you know.
What makes them do that? Like, if you're a doctor and you have like, what makes them induce labor? What are the reasons?
Big baby where your body cannot handle. If you go and give birth vaginally, so because of my frame, they thought this baby would have been 9.5, 10 pounds, but my frame didn't believe my frame could handle the baby coming out to the birth canal, which would lead me into having a C-section. And in C-sections, that's more liability for the doctor as well. Just depends, because some doctors. My doctor was all about money, but I'm saying, like, and then preeclampsia is where it's a life-threatening thing between for mother and baby, right? So doctors who are OBGYNs, and I don't know if people know this, but when you're an OB, and I worked on a mother baby unit, so doctors who are OBGYNs have a higher accountability of things that they need to be accountable for. So doctors don't just have to get insurance to cover them. They need insurance for the mother, and they need insurance for the baby as well. So it's not like it's a generalized practitioner where, you get generalized insurance, but they have to have insurance to cover the mother and the baby. Right. If you're a surgeon, same thing, you have to get like a certain type of insurance that would cover, just in case you get sued or whatever the issues may be. But for a OBGYN, it's actually more for them because it's not just one life, it's two lives that they are responsible for. That's why Dr. Fujita said, when because with Zoe we had an emergency C-section, but he said, if you're going to be there, I'm just going to let you know that my first priority is your wife and the baby. If you faint, we're going to leave you there on the ground.
It's not what he said. He didn't say that.
What did he say?
He didn't say leave you on the ground. Telling stories. I want to apologize to our listeners. I forgot my audio was on. So if the audio sounded terrible, that's my fault. My audio is coming from my camera, not my mic. So I fixed the problem. So it's crazy. To me, at the core of what we talk about for them to induce labor, there's a core fundamental thing we talked about even with vaccines earlier last night, or whenever it was. And even with the gain of function, which is Fauci, even with AI, all this technology, robots, people talking about Android, people talking about Neuralink, these things that are connected to your brain to create or to help improve. I think at the heart of it, I do believe that most of these people have good intention, but I do know there's also an underlying theme that takes God out of the picture. And everything we talked about.
Yeah.
right? It does. It takes God out of the picture, because if I can do it, or if I can do it better, or if I can clone this, then I can make it better than what it was, or I can extend something. I think it's yesterday or the day before we were talking about how wacky it is to have cloned dogs.
Yesterday. We were talking about cloning. Yep.
Was
Same
it
thing.
yesterday?
No, it wasn't yesterday because
Day
we never
before,
go live. Yeah.
day before. How wacky it is to that's wacky to have. I can't imagine having Lily survive another 15 years.
Well, it's half a lifespan, right? So cloning, for whatever reason, and I really believe it comes down to DNA. When they clone an animal, the lifespan of the animal shortens by half.
Yeah.
So if a horse, the horse's lifespan is 12, the original horse, the clone lifespan is shortened by 6. Now, sometimes it's shorter than that because these clones end up with tumors and diseases and different kind of weird stuff that they end up dying earlier than that. And part of that I really believe is because you cannot duplicate DNA.
Why is that?
There's something in our genetic code that really comes down to God, because He is truly our maker.
So they can't clone it, but they can, I don't want to say preserve it, but they can trace DNA, right?
Yeah, but there's something in your cells. That's why I love science. There's something in your cells that you cannot duplicate on your own. The cell has to do it. Yeah, and this is the problem that they've been having with that COVID vaccine. When you're talking about RNA, and I'm not going to get into all this stuff, but if you look it up yourself and you go, you read about cells, cell replication, DNA, RNA, cell membranes. If you look in depth into those things, this is why cloning cannot replicate the food span of a normal years, not a normal years, but normal years of a dog's lifespan or a horse's lifespan or a sheep's lifespan, because the cell has to do the work. You cannot manipulate the cell enough to do that. And anytime you try to do drastic changes to a DNA, it doesn't work.
Two things. Number one, insane in the membrane. But what does that sound? Insane in the membrane.
What is that? Half sheep, half what?
No, whatever that sound is. I don't know what sound it is. It's like a whistle on steroids or something. I don't know what that. I gotta figure what that sound is. Okay, what was it talking about? It all still goes back to removing God and saying, I can do this.
Right.
But John Stewart was powerful when he was on what is that talk show? Stephen Colbert show, yeah. Talking about the chlorella with the turkey. But when he said something very interesting and profound, he said that, science is a great thing, right? Scientists are smart. And men can do amazing things. Mankind can do amazing things with science. But he said, but there was nobody in that lab that said, hey, maybe we shouldn't do this. I know we can, but maybe we shouldn't. Nobody, and he was making fun of it. It's the same thing with the guy who did the atom bomb. It's like, okay, I know we can do this, but
should we
do it? And it's the same thing with when it comes to science and cloning and all the, even with AI. Like, I don't subscribe to that whole thought process that AI will take over the world. There's a lot of people that talk about that, and I don't.
You need somebody to manpower the AI, it cannot survive on its own. Like that's what happens when you get out there and there's no balance to it all. So if we go back to COVID, they were silencing all the scientists who were saying that no, this virus didn't just come out of nowhere. It was a man-made virus. So when you study science, and if you go to the I don't even know if they still have it. What was that thing that Fauci was?
NHIH, I think.
Yeah. So if you go to that website, and I'm not sure if they still have it up, but if you go back and you go look at the COVID-19 strain and where it comes from, a lot of those things, you have to take the time to not just read what was in it, but read about how it's created. Right. There's certain diseases and stuff that dogs carry, right? There's certain things that humans carry, and it's not transferable. It's not transferable. It becomes transferable if you start mixing stuff together. So if you look at what was in it, it's like there's so many things in it. I'm like, why is this in there? Like you can tell that it was man-made. You have to go and you have to look at it because there's strains that is in it that makes no sense at all. If we already had vaccines for all these things that we've been taking since the time we were little, then why is that something now that exists? So take, for instance, not pneumonia, because pneumonia is a viral thing, so your body has to fight it off. There's a difference between bacterial and viral, right? Viral stuff, your body has to fight it off. Bacterial stuff, medication can treat. There's this one stuff that, oh man, what is it? I haven't heard of it since we were kids. And I was like, well, why is it something RSV?
Oh, respiratory silly virus. Respiratory silly virus.
I forget.
It's a respiratory silly virus.
It's not something that was. It's coming back now. Like, why?
Fake news.
Respiratory syncytial virus, and Rachel's grandson had it.
What's it called? Syncytial.
Syncytial. Synctial.
That's fake. They made that up.
Synctial. It's something that growing up I remember hearing it being talked about. I'm not sure if I had it. But if you have asthma, that's not a good thing for you to have. But I remember my mom them talking about it when we were younger, and I don't know, somebody had it. But back then it was kind of a bigger thing than it is now, but they had vaccines for it. So now I'm like, okay, well, you have vaccines for all this stuff, and then COVID comes around, and all the stuff in COVID is the stuff that you're supposed to have had vaccinated for, right? And then all of a sudden, the flu disappears.
You talking about during the pandemic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just so much things in that stuff that you have to study it out in order for you to know. Like if you just go on a website and you look it up and you go, what? And it's all these things that we had gotten vaccination for as kids, but now it's all in one virus. I mean, what does that tell you? I mean, to me that's just common sense. If you get this one virus that has all this stuff that you got vaccinated for as a kid, and it's all in this virus here, all together as one, that makes no sense to me. Where did this super virus come from, right? So, but like I said, they silence all the science people that are saying, hey, no, this is man-made, right? You got scientists saying these things, and they silenced them. They didn't allow them to speak out. And then if you actually gonna do the research for yourself, you see it for yourself. Like, don't take my word for it. Go and look it up yourself, and then understand, what all this stuff means. Like, look it up, and you can make your decision on your own on what you believe it to be. But if you study science, it's just doesn't even have to be with God in it. But with God in it, it makes more sense. Right. So as I was saying before, a lot of these people who are biologists and virologists or chemists and all these people who were of the science community a long time ago, God was in all of that. They were believers, and a lot of some of these things that they created, like holistically, being able to treat people and help them, they got to the root of things versus, now we're just treating symptoms. It's a big difference when the presence of God is in it and when the presence of God is not in it, right? We tend to go off the deep end, and that's one of the concerns with cloning, which we were talking about yesterday, is that how far they would, take it ethically. Same thing with abortions. Same thing, there's always an ethical aspect to a lot of things, when it comes to surgery, when it comes to even, like I said, I've known that there are doctors there who would, wants to make money, so they schedule all their girls to have C-sections. C-sections make them more money, even though they're held accountable for both mother and baby. It's just there's corruption all over the place, and it's very important that we involve God in the process of everything that we do, so that we know which way to walk and what to do, and that fear doesn't stifle us or stop us from doing things that we should really be doing. Or even, like I talked about the other day, about when you get pregnant, right? There's a lot of women that I've seen that really would be screaming their head off while giving birth, and they're young, 18, 19, 20, and a lot of that I really believe is because they didn't understand how pregnancy works, how your body changes. If you understand some of these things, if you go in and look at it, same thing like Donald Trump and his policies, and Obama and his policies, like look up these things so you understand what they are. And if you're younger and you never heard about the Nazis and the Holocaust, go and look it up yourself and see if see the truth about it. And honestly, I mean, even if you heard about it and you never read about it, go back and read about it. Go read about Adolf Hitler. You go to read about Stalin, and you go read about Mussolini and all these guys and the things that they did. Donald Trump is not like them. You can't compare him to them. That's crazy to compare somebody.
Well, none of us can dance the way he does. He can't be all serious this whole time. Seriously.
No, I was gonna say these guys never danced.
Yeah. Let's just be honest. None of them were funny.
And he's done. You follow it. He's pretty funny.
Well, whether you like him or not, he's funny. He is a funny guy, and I get it. He's mean, and well, he's not the only one that's mean. There's a lot of people that are connected to him that are mean, like the is it Matt Gaetz? I think it was Matt Gaetz, where he called women that are on the extreme left side of the issues. He said, and I think it was about abortion rights. He says nobody would want to have babies with you anyway or something. He called them all these fat, ugly, liberal left people, called them names, right? And so the newscaster goes, well, can we confirm that you said these things? He goes, yep. Well, what do you say to the people, who are offended by what you said? He says, let them be offended. So,
Well, Elon Musk is pretty funny too. He's quirky, but he's funny.
but it all goes back to like what we talk about. You can't compare Trump to Hitler or Mussolini,
Yeah.
or even you can't compare him to Putin, because the bottom line is he's not. I think the fundamental thing is that a true fascist or someone that is a nationalist, like, or all about government, total control, they would never downsize. No true dictator. Now, from what I last heard, and this is something we'll probably talk about later, is the true size of our government, because it's not just, we talk about the 500 or so that are in Congress and the Senate, and we talk about the president and his staff, but from what I heard, there's about 2 million jobs that are either federal jobs or federal contract, federal subsidized jobs that will never be removed, for example. So we're talking about government heavy, and that's where the balance of when you talk about the right versus left thinking in terms of how to operate this machine, right? So I think there's about 2 million jobs, and so for people that don't know, like the United States Postal Service, although it's federal, that can be privatized as well if they choose to. If they choose to, I believe it. Like, just put it up for bid, right? UPS or FedEx, or maybe DH. I think DHL is not it's not a American company, so I don't think that would work. But
Wow. Okay, so here's some statistics.
how many jobs? So was I close?
The United States federal government has about 2,260,000 civilian employees.
But they are employed by a federal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
160,000 of those in the District of Columbia, not counting the United States Postal Office. And then
So the question with those jobs is, how many of those can be, downsized, if that's even a word, right? That's why I joked about the other day. You got to be careful with the Postal Service. You don't want to ruin their way of life, because for anybody that's a child of the 80s, you know what happened. There's a lot of that stuff happening.
5 million workers.
Total.
A part of the executive, legislative, Senate, House of Representative, judicial branches. And that's just, that it doesn't account for all the other stuff. Like how they have forget.
And a lot of those jobs will never be, like, for who was it? Let me look him up. There was a guy that works for the federal government. He says, I will never step down. Let me look at what government official. And he said that they asked, are you going to step down? He's like, no. And his job is not an appointed one, so at least not by the president. Step down.
So then you got 12 regional reserve banks.
Jerome Powell. So here's another one. Check this out. So the Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell. Now, Federal Reserve is not even. It's not even.
It's really not a part of the.
It's not. So you don't have to step down.
No.
So that's another. That's a whole nother discussion when it comes to the powers that be and that curtain. I guess the question is how far is our next president? How far is he willing to lift up that curtain? Yeah. You better have gotten a picture on this one.
So even in studying business, this is where I learned some of this stuff. So I actually did my own deeper dive. So if you go and you want to do a deep dive into the Federal Reserve, like just go into the Federal Reserve. They have 12 Federal Reserve banks, I believe. The Federal Reserve is not just in one place, but look up the people that's behind that and look and see like who controls the Federal Reserve.
It's not even our money, first of all.
And the Federal Reserve is not under the federal government.
So the uneducated person, let me rewind, not uneducated, the person that is ignorant to what really is happening. Ignorant is actually a better word than uneducated. I think you're just unaware of what's going on. A lot of people think that the Federal Reserve, that's where our government keeps all our money. No, that's not even where we keep our money. Like, that's not, we don't even have control over that.
Right.
We don't have legitimate true control over that.
If you look where it began, where it was created from, the people who are against it, because.
What would you say in a very simple sentence? Why did they have the Federal Reserve?
Control.
Over what?
Over the money, United States money, how people spend money.
Yeah.
The control over the people.
And generational.
Yeah.
It's all about generational control, right?
Use fear of a war to begin the Federal Reserve.
Because if Jerome Powell can say, I'm not going to step down, that means he doesn't have to.
Yeah,
there has to be something that's going to make him step down, whether it's some extreme case, right?
Like a lawsuit or something like that. The federal government
could be more extreme than that. Yeah. Especially when you're talking about the control of a nation. If they're willing to hire somebody to take a shot at Trump, it's going to take a lot more than just legal proceedings, because they tried legal proceedings already.
Right.
So
don't take our word for it. Go and look it up.
And I say that loosely because some of those proceedings were not legal, but they were blanketed in the language of the law.
Yeah.
Because they can't prosecute him when he's a sitting president, right? For example, they have to wait. They gotta wait. So how silly is that? Either he broke the law or he didn't.
A lot of these things, like, they were dropped. The charges were dropped. There was,
But which charges are you talking about? So we're clear.
I can't remember. That's what I was thinking about.
Because he's convicted of these, so that is.
I can't remember. I gotta go look it up.
There's been quite a things he went to court for that he either settled.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. Now, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about the charges that was brought against him by the government. I'm not talking about because he had active lawsuits that obviously he settled on, and I don't know all about all of those lawsuits or whatever. And
well, he's got one more coming up where he's actually suing the media. Or is it? He's suing for $10 billion. Right here it says that. He's suing, let's see who he's suing. New York Times, CBS, and other major media outlets.
So, with all of this being said, it is very important that we as a people go and look up information on our own, to gain our own knowledge on things. Don't just take our word for it. But also, knowing some of this information that we're talking about, and what I was talking about, like, as far as the media and, polarizing things and pushing the candidate that they want you to vote for, is very important that you do your own research on the candidate, do their background, what they stand for, what kind of policies it is, and what have they done, if they sat in office before, if they sat in any seat of the office, like what did they do to help their constituents or help the community that they are serving. That's very important too. It's very important that we're not easily swayed by by the media, or that we make our own, wise decisions on these things. And it's not just, the Bible talks about to pray for those who are in leadership over you, that it may go well with you. Well, if you're not a Bible believer, right, do your due diligence anyway, and look it up, and know what you stand for. If you know what you stand for, know what they stand for, and make a decision based on that. But when you vote for righteous people, then you get right things. You get right things done. Less crime. Less bad things, basically, that happen for you and your community around you. And you want to leave, we want to leave a better world for our children and our grandchildren to live in. That's the biggest thing when we talk about his presence. We talk about all these things, and all lead back to one thing. It's having God's presence in the midst of every decision that we make, all this stuff that is coming down, and finding information and making decisions, wise decisions. It really leads all the way back to God. It really does. It really does lead back to him. It really does lead back to his presence. When you look at the world around you, and how it's so intricately made. You look at the beauty of flowers, and I was just looking at flowers last night. I was like, man, some of these flowers are just so vibrant and
Outside
so
or
beautiful. On my, what do you call that? My computer. But I also saw I was watching this video, and peacocks. There are different color of peacocks. In our zoo in Honolulu, there are peacocks that walk around. They actually have peacocks that walk around, and it's so beautiful when their feathers come up and they start, fanning out. And so I saw this video of this peacock. It was a black peacock. I've never seen a black peacock like that before, but it lifted up its feathers and it started fanning out, and how beautiful that is. I mean, that's such an intricate, beautiful animal that's made. You learn to appreciate, you learn to appreciate some of these things.
I had to Google that because I'm like, what the heck? So peacocks are actually peafowl. That's the actual term. But they're called peacocks because they're the male version, and then the female version, guess what they're called? Peahens.
Peahens.
Yeah. I learned something today. I was like, why do they call them that? I guess that makes sense because in chickens, you've got the rooster and then you got the hens. Right? Very interesting. Have you been following Russell Brand at all?
I do follow Russell Brand.
Okay, because he really, I want to talk about it for a second.
Maybe let's finish the peacock. There's 3 different types of peacocks.
What are they?
The Indian peacock species.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
They're native to India, Sri Lanka, and other parts of Eastern Europe. No, not Europe. Eastern Asia. There's the green peacock, also known as the Javanese peacock.
Javanese. Where is that? What country is that?
It's native to the Indonesian island of Java.
Java. Mr. Java.
In southern Asia. And then you got the Congo peacock.
Congolese.
They recently discovered that. It's an African native. Closely resembles typical pheasants. Interesting. They have different colors. That's what I'm so amazed at. Of these peacocks, their colors. Anyway,
We're talking about, let's talk about
you were
Russell.
talking about Russell Brand. I just wanted to
Since we're
finish
talking
my
about-
thoughts on the peacocks.
Oh, since we're talking about peacocks, and Russell Brand is he's out there. He's been out there for a while. Let me look him up, because every day I check up on what he has to say, and today he said, I'll pull it up. He says, "I love the Book of Acts." That's it, and I love that. Let me pull it up. Russell Brand.
Oh, he was talking about the Book of Acts the other day.
Yep, the church. Yeah.
But he was sitting on the sidewalk.
Rusty Rockets. If anybody wants to follow Russell Brand on social media, it's Rusty Rockets on Twitter. On X.
On Twitter.
On Twitter. He's got such a unique presence, or the way he carries himself. He goes, so yeah, this is about an hour ago. He says, "I love the Book of Acts." I'm going to respond to him.
I love the Book of Acts too. It's such an amazing book.
For anybody that has not read the Book of Acts, and you want to know a little bit about Christianity, Book of Acts is a great book to start when it comes to Christianity, because then you get a picture of what the original Christian church looked like, or should look like, or looks like, either or. When Emily and I first started pastoring, that was the name of our church. It was Acts Today, and we were part of a denomination that was part of that. So it was actually Acts 2 DAY. That was the actual name of our church, Acts Today. But yeah, the Book of, so if you want to know like what a Christian church started out as, definitely read the Book of Acts. Acts chapter 2 talks a lot of actually, that's where Pentecost happened, for those that are into theology. But in the Book of Acts chapter 2, that's where Pentecost happened. And in a nutshell, that was Peter's first sermon. I would say that is probably the most successful sermon of all time. First sermons of all time, because he had 3,000 people. Probably more than that, but the Bible shows around 3,000. And they were all filled with the Holy Spirit. So if you want to learn what the church may have looked like, Book of Acts, and also how it shows how Christians treated one another, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody wants to know, hey, what was it like to see what a Christian church looked like back in the day, that's a very good depiction of what it looked like. And since we're tying and connecting the dots, and it also shows what happens when God's presence enters the room. So the very first verse is like, it literally starts with, "And suddenly there came in like a mighty rushing wind," and that's the presence of God. So let me text my dad. Let me text him real quick. Electricity message.
I want to get a peacock. I'm looking at these peacocks.
They have them at we didn't go inside the animal farm up the hill
On the mountain.
Remember we went? They had the pigs and the.
That'd be so cool to have a peacock as a.
Are there peacocks in Central Oregon? Yes, there are peacocks in Central Oregon, and in the wild too. Okay.
Look at that. They actually have pink peacocks.
So they're kind of like turkeys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just that it's not their tail.
I wonder if they're edible. I'm sure they are. I think any animal's edible.
I want to eat a peacock. Well, that's what the Bible says.
What?
That animals are good for food now.
Oh yeah, honey. But you know what I mean.
Saying.
I know, but I'm not gonna go out and go eat a puffer fish.
Well, I mean.
I know what you're saying.
Fugu.
Yeah, that's my point. Like, it wasn't a matter if you can; it's just a matter of if you would. Maybe rephrase it. If I wonder if they're tasty. How about that? I'll leave it at that. So there's a
Try look.
oh yeah, let me look it up. I'll look it up on here. I gotta navigate through wires and cameras. But
It's
anyways, getting back to we're
beautiful.
talking about Russell Brand. We got sidetracked. Let me share one more thing. So he's been so on fire for God lately, and it encourages me to see somebody that's in popular media, popular culture. He's got his own show, and he also has another show where he's specifically just talking about his faith, and it's called Break Bread with Russell Brand. And I don't know. I kind of like. I take notes from people. Everybody has their niche, whatever.
Niche.
But I would like to do something where we have something just specifically just for straight up kingdom stuff, and then a more broad, which is kind of what we're doing here. Yeah.
The cool thing is, God is doing something in Russell Brand, Brent, for him
Yeah.
to go live. Sitting on a street and talking about the Book of Acts. It's just you can even tell by the changes. In him that's different too. That's so cool. I mean, just to see God unfolding in his life. We're not perfect, and we're not called to be perfect before we can receive Jesus as our Lord and Savior, but it's our recognition that we do need a savior, that we do need God in our lives, and allow God to grow our relationship with him. We don't have to, like I said, we don't have to be perfect, and we don't have to make sure that every I is dotted and every T is crossed before we come to know him, and we have to dress this perfect way. No, you come as you are.
Yeah.
Come as you are, and you allow the Lord to use you, to speak through you, to minister to you, to change things in your life. And one of the biggest things is condemnation. People feel guilty.
Yeah.
And still feel guilty for so many things. If you've repented and you tell the Lord that you apologize for that type of behavior, and you change your ways, God is gracious, and he's righteous, and he's merciful, that he'll forgive you, and you just and you move on from that, and you walk in the joy of the Lord. There is freedom that Christ died to give us. When we struggle, we have struggles. When we struggle financially, when we lose our job, we struggle with grief. Maybe we lost a loved one. Maybe we lose a baby. We lose a child. Something happens. All those things. God is able to help us and walk with us in those times. His presence is so very important for us as believers to receive freedom,
Yeah.
joy, happiness.
I think we're at a good coming in for a light. I'm just looking at the clock. Here's three things I want to just grease the landing pad with is God's presence. One, it's all around us, right? It's omnipotent. But the fact that I think yesterday or 2 days ago we talked about a lot of people are willing to talk about him. A lot of people are willing to even say that if they're not Christians, they're willing to say that there has to be a God or some kind of God or some kind of creator. But very few are willing to acknowledge that he's not just like up there, but he's here. There are a few. Now the question is how are they going to receive that, right? And I think we talked about it. Russell Brand talks about it. The only way to have access to His presence is through Christ Jesus. And to encourage anybody that's watching is, if you want to experience His presence, it does take a relationship. John 3:16, confessing with your mouth and your heart that Jesus Christ is Lord. But there is also an action. You can't just confess it. It's kind of like, and we'll pick on the Catholics for a second, but it's not just going to confession every week and then still go drink, get drunk, beat up people, beat up your wife, and then go back and confess again. No, you're just confessing what you did. You didn't change anything. So yeah, of course, it does take some a heart change. The matters of the heart have to be affected and changed, right? We call it repentance, complete, not 360, because 360 you just end up right back where you started, but a complete turnaround, right? Repentance is a legitimate complete turnaround. So that's our word of encouragement for anybody that wants to really seek God on a higher level, is to get to know who Jesus is. Yeah. Legit.
If you feel like your life is at, you're at your wits' end, you feel depressed, maybe contemplating suicide, it's not worth it. I mean, try Jesus. I'm telling you, He will never disappoint you.
I wish I could screen share. I'm on Firefox. They won't let me screen share, but I wanted to put this on the country church. Will go, Jesus, dun, 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 Jesus, and they're just doing this happy-go-lucky song. Jesus, Jesus. Jesus is a friend of mine. That one. You remember that song? Yeah. Jesus is a friend. It's such a happy-go-lucky song. All right, let's land the plane.
Invite Him into your life. Let Him become your friend.
Yeah, Jesus. Or like the other guy, the Latino Mexican guy. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Is he legit for real, or is that just a viral thing he does?
No. Legit, for real.
Okay.
I think he was a gangster, and that was his testimony. He gave his life over to Jesus, and he would pop and lock. You guys know what breaking pop and lock.
Pop and lock.
You pop and lock for Jesus.
Pop and lock. Pop and lock for Jesus. I know we talked a lot about we talked about a lot of what the heck? We talked a lot about things. You be a full hour.
Tongue twisted.
We talked a lot about it. That's what happens. So for those that don't know, when you're born and raised Hawaii, we have this language that we call Pidgin. And it is basically a Creole language that was created from immigrants moving to Hawaii to work, and they had to learn English together. And that's how they came up. And obviously, Hawaiians had a very heavy presence in that.
That's how they learned to communicate together, because they all spoke different languages.
Well, that's how they learned how to speak English together. They ended up learning how, and when they ate dinner, we went to the place in Waipahu, they had a community cooking area.
Community dinner.
And they would just have conversation, and that's how the English was understood by all of them, is through Pidgin. And then, of course, the locals, that it became our official Creole language. So anyways, yeah, speaking Pidgin and trying to speak proper English into where you guys can understand. Sometimes we trip ourselves up. We tie our shoelaces together, the two shoes. Well, what did I say? There's a whole lot about, wait, what did I say? That's a whole lot about, what did I say? I forget.
Hubba bubba.
There's a whole lot of hubba bubba. We're a little bit tired this morning. I can tell. I can tell my wife is a little bit tired, because it took you a while to get out of first gear. Me too.
Well, my tooth has been sore, so that affects my brain.
It's evident. We want to encourage you guys and bless you guys. I'm going to leave you with a scripture before we close this out. Let me pull it up. I have 50,000 windows open. Let me see if I can find it. Where is it? But if anybody is in a dark place, or you need prayer, I didn't say this the past couple of times, but if you need prayer, reach out to us. We would love to pray for you, but we would also love to pray with you, if that makes any sense. We don't want to just pray for. We want to get you involved too. We want you to pray over yourself. You pray over your kids, your family, your spouse, whatever it is you need prayer for. And so you can reach out to us. Website is therealgilo.com. Link is in my bios. If you're on X, you can shoot a DM. I tend to get to them quick enough. It depends on how many I get hit in a day, but we just want to encourage you. Philippians 4:19. And with all his abundant wealth, through Christ Jesus, my God will supply all your needs. That is our word of encouragement for anybody that's watching. Thank you for those of you that are X, YouTube, Twitch, Kick, and Rumble. We do appreciate you guys hanging out with us. And thank you to the YouTube people that are so patient just hanging out with us. We do appreciate that. And thank you for hanging out. And as I always say, thank you for your time, your heart, super heart, your data, all that good stuff. But most importantly, thank you for your time above everything else. And we hope that the exchange of your time for this was worth it. On behalf of my wife and myself, we love you guys. God bless you guys. Hui ho, aloha, and mahalo. I'm trying to time my transition. Aloha and mahalo. Yes, sir. Chew.
To whoever may need this nugget of encouragement, things will be alright, so quit your worrying. I get it, the odds can stack back against the wall, but even consider it such, know you'll stand firm.